Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the Superintendent's Report. I'm Carol Birdsong, and joining me for the next 30 minutes or so is Williamson County Schools Superintendent Jason Golden. And we're going to be talking about school board action, county commission action, and all things Williamson County Schools. We have some important dates for you to take note of and hopefully participate in. So, anyway, we are going to start first of all with celebrations because that's what we like to do. We like to celebrate, and as we record this, we had the Williamson County regular Board of Education meeting last night. Today is actually February 22nd. We met on February 21st, and boy, did we have some celebrations. And you almost stole my thunder. I'm going to say that. You almost stole my thunder with 71 National Merit students. That is a record.
It is a record, and you actually took some of my thunder as well when you mentioned that it really starts at the earliest grades, at kindergarten and working our way up. Kindergarten students, our elementary school students are learning those foundational skills, reading, math, in addition to all those important lessons that they're learning through that time. But you see fruition as the students advance. And one of the biggies for us is National Merit. And we had a record, as you said, National Merit finalist of 71. We spoke to some of the details of that last night. We had 71 National Merit finalists. We had 72 semifinalists, so all but one were awarded that finalist standard. Nationally, about 90% of the semifinalists become finalists. But here's the kicker for us. The highest number we've had up until this year was 52. So we went up by about 40% just over the last couple of years. Last year we had 51, the year before that we had 52, this year we had 71. I'm convinced that one of the reasons why is because of our staying in school as much as we can, fighting it on a daily basis during the pandemic. This is a national competition. The National Merit structure has a limited number of awards, and our students are competing nationally. And we jumped this year. And again, I'm convinced it's because we were able to stay in school and give those students that consistent instruction so that they could be even better prepared for the test compared to their peers in so many parts of the country where they lost instruction.
That is one good outcome of all of the painful past couple of years, I guess you could say.
And this is the point at which it really means money. $2,500 plus potentially more for all these students who receive National Merit. It also is a significant item on a student's application to colleges. National Merit is a big deal. The best I can compare it to from a teacher's perspective is the National Blue Ribbon schools. Right. Well, it's as close as we can come to the same thing for a student.
As an individual honor, sure. Well, we also honored more other students last night. They've started the Music Teachers Association in the state of Tennessee has begun something new where they're honoring our performers, our actors, our thespians. We have 46 students who actually won awards in musical theater, in acting, in design and tech. So just a plug for our theater teachers. If you guys have not seen one of our high school productions, one of our middle school productions, go take in a show. Typically, our folks do musicals in the spring. Wow, we have such talent, and our theater teachers are just so passionate about the work that they do, and they bring out the best in our students. So. Huge shout out to those folks.
You know, our mission statement talks about providing a supportive environment that challenges students towards excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts. And one of the great things that's happening in Tennessee is statewide they're starting to recognize that even more. So for decades we've had all-state band, mid-state band. Orchestra has been added in recent years. Theater has been added. And now more than ever, students who engage in those arts are being recognized. So I'm gratified and happy to see that the state is starting to see what we've been talking about for a number of years, which is challenge students in those three important areas: academics, athletics, and the arts.
Yes. Okay. Also last night, we honored students who earned a perfect ACT composite score. So we have 6 more students who have earned that accomplishment. And so congratulations to them. Again, you talk about with national merit, that translates into money for families. ACT does as well.
That is another big deal, ACT scores. And ACT is structured with multiple tests over the course of the year. So ACT is not announced the way national merit is announced. It is a huge deal. Tennessee requires all students in public schools to take the ACT as a graduation requirement, and we may talk about that just a little bit later. But all our students take it, and it is so neat to see a student get a perfect score. That sticks with them forever. There's something about that when you know that you aced something. There's an emotional content to that, the confidence that's built, but it's also quite substantive. It's another opening to the school of a student's choice. Yes. It's about scholarship money. It's about making things work better for parents and giving those additional opportunities for students to do what they want to do with their next steps. And we've had students who are in our CCTE programs get perfect scores. We've had students who are focused so exclusively on academics get perfect scores. We've had students in band, in theater. That whole package of what we're doing for students, when we see those final scores, those junior, senior awards, we think about those kindergarten students who started and the growth they've had. It's really neat to see in education.
That's true. That's true. So, like you mentioned, it is a graduation requirement. The ACT is for students in the state of Tennessee, and on March 1st, Tuesday, March 1st, all of our juniors will be taking the ACT. We started that how long ago? Did the state start that? Hasn't been that long, really, though.
I can't remember the exact year, but the state actually funds the junior test. So it's important for us to maintain those cohorts for our juniors, so the state actually provides the funding for the junior test. We actually do that for seniors as well, a retake that WCS funds through the funding that the commission gives us. So juniors take it in the spring. We also offer that option for seniors to do a retake that we fund. And in between, a lot of students, a lot of families might choose to do it a third, fourth time as they're working on that extra ACT score to try to open some doors for them. It's been a state requirement for quite a while. The number of states across the country that require it tends to fluctuate a little bit. Maybe 8 to 10 states nationwide require ACT. So often when you look at statistics nationwide, you might get on the internet and do a search. You might find a particular state that looks like they're topping out on scores. It's important to look to see, is that a state that's requiring the ACT? Traditionally, Connecticut scores really well, and they haven't required it. And so you look at the cohort, right. You look at, is it 20% of the students taking it, or is it all? And
you want to compare apples to apples.
That's right. So our board has 2 goals related to ACT in our strategic plan. One is for a total composite score, but also we have a goal related to increasing the number of students who get over a 21 so that those state scholarships can be available. And we've had some growth and some inroads in reaching that goal on both fronts, increasing the number of our students who reach a 21. And actually our district was tops in the state on that criteria based on state reports just this past year.
That's right. Thank you for bringing that up. So let's talk, a lot of activity over really the past month regarding pay raises. And I know that our board in January approved a 3% pay raise for salaried staff, a $1 an hour pay raise for hourly staff. The county commission, when it met in the month of February, approved that. And that is taking effect now with an upcoming pay period. So folks will soon see that in their checks. talk about, this has never happened before in my memory, and I've been here 2.5 decades. So talk about why that was needed, why it happened, and give our viewers a little background on that.
Well, County Mayor Rogers Anderson and I have been talking over the last few months about the changed market conditions, and so many businesses have had these issues. You think about supply chain, staffing. I've had so many conversations with private business owners who have struggled with staffing. You've seen examples of restaurants changing their hours because they couldn't keep staff and they've had to shrink their hours. We don't have that capacity to shrink what we're doing. We're going to serve students no matter what, for a lot of reasons. There are state rules, but it's about, we've got it, we owe it to our students.
Yes.
And so we can't do some of those things that private businesses can do. Likewise, historically, we have not been able to do what private businesses can do in responding quickly to market changes, where you do a quick analysis of profit and loss and determine, okay, I can give this increased pay. We don't have that capacity because we're government. We don't operate in that structure. The county commission votes annually on budget. We get state funding based on annual processes, et cetera. So we typically don't have that flexibility. But the demand has been so great over the last few months with folks leaving the job market and us having shortages of so many of our positions, and the county government was feeling it too. Parks and Recreation, some of the road crews, maintenance, et cetera, that we were able to look at the revenue that's coming in and determine that we did have the capacity this time to offer a pay increase in the middle of a school year, more particularly in February. And what's made it possible this year is our budgeted numbers for sales tax have
Increased.
Yeah, we budgeted an amount, but sales tax has grown so much more than we budgeted. Our community is positive on the economy, and because our community's done that, it made it possible for us to give a raise to our teachers and our staff in the middle of the year. So county government decided on a $1 an hour pay increase. We had that conversation with them. We decided on the $1 an hour for all our support staff, and then a 3% for teachers. So let me give you a quick example. A special education teacher's assistant starting pay is $15 an hour. $1 an hour is $16 an hour, which is about 6 2/3%, a little over 6.5% pay increase, immediate, and it's going to be felt in their next paycheck. It's letting our folks know, we know what you're going through, we know about cost increase, we know about supply chain issues, we know that there's a lot of demands on you, and we're able to give that raise now. One great thing about this is it's also permanent. We included that in our pay charts and made it permanent.
So it's not like a bonus.
That's
It is the salary charts have adjusted to reflect it.
And there have been times over the years where the state might do a bonus at a particular time, and to your point, it's just a bonus and it's just a one-time shot. But the commitment we made to our staff is this is permanent, because we recognize this is just not a spike. This is a permanent thing for you.
Okay. Well, I know many people have shared their gratitude to you and Mayor Anderson, to the County Commission, and to the school board. So I know the staff will look forward to seeing that in their checks.
And Carol, if I may, I want to add something to that. The pay isn't solving everything.
Right.
We always could use more pay. The cost of living is growing. It's what we can do now. We're currently working on budget prep for next year, trying to determine what we might get from the state, and projecting county revenue, which would include basically property tax and sales tax. And we intend to propose to the school board next month an additional pay increase to go into effect July 1 as part of our regular annual planning.
Well, and since you brought up budget, it's going to be a little bit different this year. We used to have everything to the County Commission in April. I think that still stands, but the Commission did not vote on our budget until July. Now, based on feedback they've gotten, right, from the State Comptroller's Office, they will be approving our budget in June.
We operate on a July 1 fiscal year, and likewise county government does as well. So the Comptroller's Office has told the County Commission that they ask that they approve our budgets before July 1, before the fiscal year starts. To your point, traditionally it's been a few weeks later. And so the County Commission has changed their schedule a little bit so that they will review our budget finally in late June. We have multiple meetings from March to June with County Commission Budget Committee, with the Education Committee. Our board meets and has multiple meetings as they plan for the budget. We live within our means based on what our community contributes to it. What's been really great about being here, especially compared to the rest of Tennessee, is education matters. The way the state funding structure is, our local funding covers about 2/3 of our total expenditure. And that's not true across the state. It's because our community and because our commission steps up to what our board sees as needed to give the high quality instruction that brings people to Williamson County.
So since you went down this road, we've heard in the media this new BEP funding, what's that going to mean? We really don't know yet.
We don't. So the tradition, if you've looked at some of the media reports, the tradition is what's called BEP, Basic Education. It's a funding model that's based on every imaginable need and service, from principals per school building to nurses to pupil-teacher ratio for teachers to capital issues, et cetera. It's a broad scope based on those needs. The state is going through a process of considering to shift to a student-based model, and we've had some publications from the state about their projections for what would fill that model. We haven't yet seen any numbers. The projection is it would go into effect in 2023 or later. The governor alluded to it when he announced his budget plans for this coming year, with $750 million set to address that change in this year's budget. What we hear from our state representatives in legislators is that when a state shifts to this model, the plan and structure is for every school system to get more. And so we're looking forward to seeing the numbers. Haven't seen them yet. But we talked about being cautiously optimistic with health issues. I'm cautiously optimistic about this because our legislators have talked about that plan. So this year we're under the existing one, and we don't know the numbers quite yet for this coming year, but I do anticipate some significant changes over the next few years. And for those folks who've moved to Tennessee recently, the Tennessee structure for school funding is split in two. Our board makes decisions in the budget for the expenditure side, but they don't have any funding decision-making power. That's not true in a lot of other states. The funding decision-making power is at the local level and at the state level. So our commission has some power to make decisions about the property tax rate. Regionally, it's quite low compared to our neighbors, and those who move in do see that on their bill, and locals don't. We don't have that experience because we haven't seen property tax elsewhere.
We could probably do an entire program on the budget, and maybe we should at some point, but we don't have enough time right now.
Well, it's on my mind because we're presenting it next month.
That's right. That's right. And we're also we're already looking ahead. We have been to next year, and we have a career fair coming up on March 5th from 9 until 11 at the Ravenwood High School gym. And we are hiring at that career fair for teachers. This is a teacher-only career fair. And we're hiring for teachers for next year. If you want to be a teacher in Williamson County Schools, you need to go to Ravenwood High School between 9 and 11 on Saturday, March 5th. We'll have a classified career fair later on in the summer, and that's for support positions. So talk about the importance of going ahead and hiring early for next year.
Well, we talked about budget briefly, but the reality is this is all about people. Our work is all about people. It's about high quality teachers who are professionals and know how to teach, who love their subject matter, who love their students, actually giving those services to their students. It's about people. And so that part of it's extremely important. I actually have a lot of data that was presented at the last board work session. As we're sitting here on Tuesday, it was Thursday. We actually have it posted on our website in the February work session packet. And I'm just going to boil it down. The number of teachers available in this country, in this state, locally, is shrinking. More teachers are retiring than teachers coming in from the colleges. As we grow, that's an exacerbated challenge for us because we're growing and our need is growing while the pool of available teachers is shrinking. So competition is becoming fierce because frankly there just aren't enough to go around. I had one email conversation with a parent. We had a chemistry teacher who left in the middle of the school year. There were no chemistry teachers sitting at home waiting to be offered a job. If we can find one in the middle of the school year, it's astounding. Those issues with some of those hard to fill science positions and world language positions have been common over the course of years. But now we're seeing it even at the elementary level even with English language arts teachers, math teachers, et cetera. There just aren't enough students coming out to become teachers to meet the demands, especially in a growing area. So we talk about recruiting. We traditionally have hired a little later in the year, and we continue to bring that earlier and earlier and earlier. We have signing bonuses for a lot of teachers. We make the offers earlier. This particular year, we've let our principals know that you can hire based on 100% of your projected students this year. That's unprecedented for us. We've gotten up to as much as 90 because you don't really 100% know how many students are going to come to your school until that day, right? Until that day. And even with people moving in from the Northeast, sometimes until Labor Day. But we're saying hire for 100% because we know there just aren't enough teachers to go around. So this job fair is very important in that context. We're going to be recruiting teachers who are coming into the area who are just getting out of school and offering them jobs. Take that pressure off them, get that commitment. It's good for them to get their career started with us. It's good for us to get them in to serve our students.
And I would let folks know, Assistant Superintendent over Human Resources, Vicki Hall, did a presentation at the work session on Thursday. Tons of information. I think her PowerPoint was like 38 slides or something with all this data and information to share. So if you're interested in that, you can go to our website under our board meetings and select the work session. You can see that whole PowerPoint, or you can watch the live stream and hear the interaction as well.
And let me give you a couple of data points. Since 2013, the number of teacher graduates from the teacher training programs at the colleges across the country, well, more specifically here in Tennessee, has decreased by 30%. 30% reduction in the number of teachers in the last 8 years. In the meantime, Middle Tennessee has grown. We have, it's that, crossing lines kind of point. So 30% reduction. We have actually increased our hiring since 2018 by 25%. 25% more teachers need to be here with us compared to 2018. And so just visualize that. Our demand is increasing, our supply is decreasing.
I'm telling you, if you just moved here, get on out to the career fair on March 5th between 9 and 11. And if you've got a teacher license, yeah, we want you. We want that experience.
Carol, you mentioned moving here. That's really a great source for us, folks moving in, because as businesses come to Middle Tennessee, spouses come who might be teachers. That's a great resource for us. It's a great environment to work here in Williamson County, so that is a key recruiting tool for us. I know that the state, we've had conversations with the State Department of Education about licensure. They are working on some provisions to try to reduce the demands on licensure for somebody coming in from out of state.
To make those reciprocal. I mean, yeah, that would be helpful.
Currently, we don't have a lot of what we think of as reciprocation provisions for professions to shift. Somebody with 20 years teaching, there's some hoops they have to jump through to get a Tennessee teacher's license. We're going to do what we can to help those make that transition. Likewise, career technical education, college and career technical programs. Those who are thinking about transitioning from another career to CCTE. I know there's some legislation currently being looked at by the Tennessee legislature to take some steps towards facilitating some of those folks getting licenses as well.
We could do a whole nother segment on the legislature too and all of the things that they are doing, but we don't have time. We need to get into board action from last night regarding Wit and Wisdom, which is our English Language Arts elementary school curriculum. And in a nutshell, some folks challenged parts of the curriculum, some text. I can't remember, but more than 30, I think, different challenges took place. The board voted last night. We had a committee. I'm not saying this very well. We had a committee that has been looking into all of those challenges, and the committee released its findings. The folks had the opportunity to then file an appeal with the Board of Education. The board heard that last night. In a nutshell, the board upheld the committee's recommendations. So you're probably more articulate in explaining that information than I just was, but to me, that's it in a nutshell. That means that we proceed with the committee's recommendations.
Well, you're our communications director. You're always a little more articulate than me. But we and most every other school district across the country, we have a policy in place that allows for individuals to ask us to reconsider instructional materials. And that includes curriculum, that includes library books. A lot of this is related to First Amendment issues at the federal level that really date back largely to the Ronald Reagan administration. So we have a policy in place. A number of individuals did ask for us to reconsider our kindergarten through 5th grade curriculum. Now, we had gone through a pretty detailed process. When I say pretty detailed, I mean detailed process where the state selects a number of possibilities for local education agencies, school systems to choose as they go through the approval cycle for different subject matter. 2 years ago, English Language Arts came up. We went through a process following that state rule of public meetings, teacher review, parent review,
community review,
all that detail. Our teachers, who all had the opportunity, the elementary teachers in this example, had the opportunity to express their preference based on their review. About 2/3 of our teachers, maybe a little bit more than that, selected Wit and Wisdom. We went with our teachers' recommendation. We think they made the right decision as they went through that. We are now in the 2nd year of implementation. Traditionally, Tennessee has a 6-year selection window for their core areas: English language, math, science, social studies. We're in year 2. At the beginning of this school year, it was challenged by a number of folks. We went through the committee process that's in our policy. This committee process has looked at individual textbooks before. This committee process has looked at library books before. This is the first time to my knowledge that an entire curriculum for the scope of multiple grades, K-5 in this example, was looked at. And it was a detailed process because the request was to eliminate the curriculum with 30 or so book examples of why those individuals wanted it eliminated. Our committee went through that detailed analysis, had conversations with those complainants.
Read all the books.
Started with reading all the books, analyzed the concerns, and ultimately made some decisions that made some alterations to the curriculum. It included eliminating one book, replacing it with another. A lot of the reasoning that, as I read the committee's decision, was it was a book at the end of the school year that had a heavy content. And the thought was, given what came before, let's find something that's a little bit lighter.
So that, I want to be clear on this. That book won't be taught, but the book's available still in the library, teacher library, school library.
This committee was not reviewing any request to eliminate books from our library. It was exclusively about curriculum. We have had in the past requests to completely remove books. This policy allows for that. We have not had a written request to remove a library book at this point. This was exclusively related to curriculum. So that committee made a decision. The board policy calls for an appeal and allows for an appeal to the school board. Some of the individuals who made the request appealed it. The board had a very detailed discussion over the course of the work session and the board meeting last night, and ultimately voted to affirm the decision of the committee. And we are immediately implementing that decision. I am so impressed with the work that our folks did. There's a policy in place and there's a reason for it, because you can't make an emotional decision on the fly. You have to be thoughtful about changes to curriculum that started at the state and work their way down. I mean, it's a very detailed professional process in selecting curriculum, so you have to be very careful and thoughtful in making those decisions. So that's where we are.
I think it's also important to note that parents have the opportunity to opt their child out of a lesson if they don't care for the book that's being read. And to date, across the whole scope of all of our elementary grade levels and in our classrooms, we've had 66 total families who have opted their child out of one or more lessons, and 35 of those from one elementary school. And then we've had 12 schools where no family has chosen to opt their child out of any.
Well, that's right. We're a public school and we serve everyone who chooses to stick to public schools. And we recognize that there's no way that everything we do can please everyone. It's a practical impossibility because the scope of thought in our community is very broad. And so we have had for a long time that provision that if you have a problem with a particular lesson, then you do have the power to opt out. We don't encourage it, but we honor it. So an older example is dissection. There was a time 20, 30 years ago where that was very, very, very much discussed publicly about dissection. So that provision in our policy allowing a parent to opt out really applies to all curriculum. And so a parent can opt out of a lesson. In this example, we have between 16 and 17,000 elementary school students. And we honor those 66 parents who've made that request. It's not the best. We're convinced that the best that we have is what we're providing to students. But we recognize that a parent may be uncomfortable with particular content, and we'll honor that and give them an alternative. We try to make it as narrow as possible to meet the needs of the family based on their value system. And that was part of what the committee reviewed as well, not the particular opt-out, but some of those values that were shared with some of the complainants.
Okay, we're way out over, but so I know we could keep talking about all sorts of things. I do want to end with this: Encore camps are back, and we have 9 elementary schools that are hosting Encore camps this summer, and there's going to be a lot of excitement about that. So
Encore is our summer camps, kind of the neat, fun things that children can do. We also have a summer school program in June, but this starts in July. It's the fun stuff.
It's the fun stuff.
And so we certainly encourage folks to participate. You mentioned 9 schools. Those are the host sites.
Yes.
It's not just for those elementary
That's right.
school students. Encore is available in the elementary school. We make decisions on the sites largely on our maintenance schedule because we do a lot of retrofitting of the school buildings. Now more than ever, schools are being used year long,
yes.
But we're doing what we can with those schools. So we'll have 9 sites. We certainly encourage you to sign up for that. If you're not doing a summer camp elsewhere, if you're going to be in town, give your children some fun days in the summer.
Students love it. So if you take a look at In Focus tonight, you will see a story about Encore and with a little bit more information for you. Thank you, Superintendent Golden, and thank you for joining us for the Superintendent's Report.